everybody. Welcome back. This is Best in Show Books. I'm Gina.
And I'm Shelby.
We are a booktube channel about all things bookish, reading, and all the things that we like about books and reading. We are here today at Naughty Dog Books, an independent bookstore in Nashville, Indiana, and we are going to bring you something a little fun, a Nonfiction November, and this is our TBR of nonfictions that we would like to read this month in November.
And we encourage you to read a nonfiction book with us, whether nonfiction is kind of something you gravitate towards, which it is for me, or if it's something you don't often read, which is Gina. So you'll be in good company either way. So please pick any nonfiction book of your choice and tell us in the comments which one I'm for sure going to read this, or I've been thinking about reading this. Just tell us. That way we have a little bit of accountability and we can check in throughout the month and just see how it's going.
And nonfiction, it could be a memoir, a biography, something unique about history you want to learn about, or
true crime.
Yeah. So we can, and I think that's the thing, learning sometimes that nonfiction is not just like, I want to read to be smarter for school. It has some nonfiction reads like a novel, so there's some really good ones out there.
Yeah.
So where are we starting today, Shelby?
So I love Nonfiction November. I like nonfiction year round. And this is a book that has been on my TBR for years. Ooh. It is The Worst Hard Time by Timothy Egan. It was written in 2006. So literally it has been on my TBR for years. And it's all about the Dust Bowl and the dirty 30s. Okay. And one of the things that we like to do at dinner at my house is we will go around and talk about the books that we're reading from, my youngest is 7 and then 9 and then my husband and I. And so sometimes my husband and I have to be like, it's a mystery about, and kind of edit it, for
not going to tell you what it's about.
For little ears. But so last night I was talking about this book and I'm probably maybe 50 pages in already. And I feel like I have learned so much.
Awesome.
I just had, I've heard of the Dust Bowl. Yeah. I read The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna, which is set in the Dust Bowl. And I was a little familiar with it, but his writing is so good. It's very interesting. It won the National Book Award, so I knew that it was going to be good, and I am really enjoying it already. And his newest book, which you would probably be familiar with, is Fever in the Heartland.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that one? Mm-hmm. That one came out probably 2 years ago in hardcover, and that's about the Ku Klux Klan. And so that had some Indiana ties to it. That was a really big book in the store for a while. Yeah. And he also has several other books. I was looking through his backlist last night because I remembered Fever in the Heartland, and then I had this one. But 2006 to 2023-ish is a big gap. And he's got several other really good-looking nonfiction books that if I fly through this one, I might
pick up something else. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah. I think Dust Bowl would be an interesting era, because it really focuses on the United States and that specific spot in the U.S. Mm-hmm. I think West with Giraffes and Grapes of Wrath are my only things that are peeking in my head that I might have remembered, and I did not enjoy Grapes of Wrath. Sorry for you people out there.
And he mentions Grapes of Wrath, a little bit, and just like I said, I knew about the Dust Bowl, but I never saw it in context of this was one of the, if not the greatest environmental disaster in the United States in the 20th century. Yeah. And the magnitude of it, these bajillion foot high, I don't know the exact measurement.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Bajillion foot high walls, he describes them as tsunami waves of dust, just blocking out the sun. I can't imagine. And then the lingering medical repercussion effects and how it changed kind of the medical industry. You had dust pneumonia because people obviously were breathing this in, and the impact it had on agriculture and housing, and it's really good. I can't say enough good things about it right now. I'm only, like I said, 50 so pages in, but it's kicking off my Nonfiction November in a good way.
It kind of reminds me of the fog that we kind of learned a little bit about in London during the 50s, where people had to migrate and leave, and it caused health issues and people died. I mean, you don't think about dust and smog and that kind of thing really being that big of an issue in a community or an environment.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. And I've plugged this on a previous episode, but I read a book. Maybe you should read this for Nonfiction November. Okay. I know it's not on your list.
It's not on my list, but that doesn't matter.
But it's called Death in the Air by Winkler Dawson. And it is about
the London.
the smog,
Yeah.
and it also goes into the environmental reasons behind it, the political environment that kind of allowed certain laws and things like that to pass that allowed this condition to flourish. So it was really good.
That would be a good one, especially after seeing it in the 2 books that we read that were fiction, just seeing how it affected the people to learn the other side.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. Well, that would be a good one.
Yeah.
I know it sounds sad, but it actually would be a good read.
Yeah. Yeah. I do have one really light nonfiction, but for the most part, nonfiction is kind of heavy. You know?
We're going to see if there's a mortuary or an axe involved in any of hers, because they tend to go a little that way.
I don't know. You might be surprised.
Which I like, though.
So my first book that I'm reading for Nonfiction November is The Worst Hard Time by David Egan. Gina, what is your first, or one of them, I guess?
One of them, yeah.
You don't have to go in order.
So it's funny that you mentioned Kate Winkler Dawson, because the book that I chose is by her.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
I even saw the list and I didn't
know.
think about that.
The Sinners All Bow, 2 authors, 1 murder, and the real Hester Prynne. So this caught my attention because we've gotten several historical fictions in the last year that were about or possibly about who Nathaniel Hawthorne wrote the book Scarlet Letter about. And then we read Scarlet Letter in classics. So this really, and it's still that time of year, you know, that fallish, spooky. So this one kind of pricked my interest, like, oh, this could be fun. So she's revisiting the death in 1832 about Sarah Cornell. And she died, and they thought it was a suicide, and it may or may not have been, but she kind of co-writes it with a lady who was an investigative journalist and wrote this piece in the early 1900s about this murder. They end up revisiting it, and it becomes a murder. And she also uses modern forensic science to revisit the clues from the original case, which sounds kind of cool, because I'm thinking, you know, how do you do that? But because this is a very old case, I mean, we're talking really old. So to take modern forensics and go back through and study what could have been a murder, not a suicide. She also has some contact with a descendant of the Sarah Cornell, and has access to some journals and some writings and things. So you get a little different perspective. And I believe the journalist, Catherine Reed Arnold Williams, there's a long name for you. Yeah. She was the only one that spoke to the family at that time, that even the people during the time of her, the original trial, didn't speak to the family. It sounds very interesting. It sounds like this could be true crimey. So there was actually an interview that she did, this Dawson, with some scholars, some people who really had some clues that Nathaniel Hawthorne did base her on the Scarlet Letter on this case. So because there was a pastor that was involved, and the pastor had some correspondence with the girl that died. So I don't know. It just sounded like this might be a fun little look into Scarlet Letter in a different way. And a good season to read it. And I started this. I didn't finish it for like no particular reason. Just, you know, how books get. But I do, like I said, I like her. And the way she structures her books, I really enjoy. So I feel like they're very readable. And she switches. I probably read maybe like half. Oh, okay. I was like quite a ways into this, so I remember a lot of it. But yeah, just the concept of she was co-writing it. So when I like pick a book, I go in blind. So I didn't know. And I was like 2 authors, and I thought, okay, who's writing this with her? But literally, she takes this woman from the past who is investigating this suicide/murder ? And she is like using her materials, and it was really, the structure was very different. I think that was just as intriguing as the story itself, is the concept of writing with an author that's no longer living, that had written about it not too long after it actually happened. Like, there's a lot of intrigues about this one that this would be interesting. So we'll see. It might satisfy my historical fiction and my true crime.
And after this, you might be like, I never want to read about Hester Prynne again.
It might be. This might be the end of my, I don't care who he wrote it about. Let's just keep reading the book.
Well, you've done classics,
Yeah.
historical fiction, and then this would be nonfiction.
Yeah.
So
Hester might be completely in my past.
yeah, you might know everything you need to know about her.
I never want to know another thing. All right, so we're leaving the world of Nathaniel Hawthorne. And where are we going now?
We're going to Hawaii.
Ooh, definitely not the middle of
No.
Maine.
Not New England,
New England.
not
Yeah.
blustery. I wanted to read this because we are going to Hawaii.
Oh.
Don't tell my kids. It's a surprise in January.
Oh.
And so I was like, I would like to know a little bit more about, Hawaiian culture and history before I do that. And so this book that I'm picking for Nonfiction November is called Capturing Kahanamoku, How a Surfing Legend and a Scientific Obsession Redefined Race and Culture.
Oh, wow.
Long title, by Michael Rossi. Okay. So this is a very new release. It came out in October 2025, and I got an ARC mailed to my house, and, just kind of like, well, on the shelf.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about Hawaii, and I was picking nonfiction, and I was like, this would be great. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be a heavy read. I think there will be no delight in this book, and I want to get that out before I go into the description. So in the early 1920s, I believe 1930s, a eugenicist, eugenics, and the director of the American Museum of Natural History, he went to Hawaii and became obsessed with this person, David Kahanamoku, who was like the ideal golden surfer beach boy. Okay. And like he was obsessed with like his physical like body type. Like this is physical perfection, so there the eugenics come in. Okay. And so he really becomes obsessed with this perfect body type. And so it's supposed to be a deep dive into Hawaiian culture, the history of eugenics. And I had never heard anything about this Hawaiian aspect. I've heard of eugenics, obviously, especially, in relation to World War II. But this felt like, to me, it was a really unknown story. Yeah. And so I'm curious to see how it went and what happened. Like I said, it's going to be hard, but I feel like I'm going to learn a lot.
Especially when I read Molokai, thanks to you. Yeah. And that was where they put the lepers. Mm-hmm. So, and about the time frame that after the 20s into the 30s and into the 40s, that's surprising. I remember watching a documentary on eugenics on PBS one night in our camper because it was the only station we got.
Love PBS.
And so, but it was really interesting the fact that the U.S. had played a bigger role in eugenics than I thought. I mean, you really think World War II.
Right,
and
you think
Hitler
that,
and, the horror of it all. But the U.S. was not blameless. Yeah. And that was really sad. And so it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. And it's going to be it'll be a dark read, like I said. But I do want to know about it, and I will report back if I finish it, if I cry, and if I learn a lot, which I'm sure I will. So that was my second book. Okay. We're on 1, 2, 3. Okay, what's your second book?
The CIA Book Club. The Secret Mission to Win the Cold War with Forbidden Literature by Charlie English, which is a cool name for a guy who's writing about books.
He sounds like a spy.
I know, doesn't he? This piqued my interest immediately. I mean, first of all, it's literature. Mm-hmm. I just finished 2 books about the Cold War, historical fiction. And then I had kind of an inkling that literature played a part in the people wanting to know more about the world outside of them in Soviet Union. Like when they had programs where they came to the U.S. to study, and some of that literature played into part, but I had no idea this existed until I read this little synopsis. This is really cool. Did you know this?
No, I don't know.
Okay. So CIA covert program to smuggle books into the Soviet bloc during the Cold War. So this particular book, it focuses on Poland in the 80s, and it highlights one particular person, George Minden, and he was tasked to mastermind this effort of getting these books in to help push the resistance and foster the school of thought and get them out, which I just think is so amazing. So it was authors like Orwell, Arendt, and I hope I say this right, Mallows, and more, which was an author I did not know. So yeah, I can see Orwell, like 1984, Animal Farm, like definitely. The others were new to me, which also was kind of neat because then it made me look up authors.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, I have not read these guys before. So interesting. And I found out that that the Soviet Union even blocked and banned some of the Russian literature. So like
Dostoevsky.
Yeah, and Tolstoy, those were banned. And I'm like, that's interesting because it was Russian literature.
Mm-hmm.
But they were thought-provoking and they
Mhm.
showed life, what it was really like in Russia during dark and hard times. So I was like, okay.
And then you have like these Orwellian stories of, you know, subverting the government and, you know, is the government really your friend and things like that.
So this was a really brilliant idea to foster this resistance underground and not, I mean, you weren't training them. You were just showing them what life could be like and what the government was really doing. And I just love this idea. So this is kind of, you know, we're checking my historical fiction box or my historical box again. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And I don't know anything about this Charlie English as far as an author goes. That was
his real name.
I know. I'm kind of wondering. I mean, it was just a little too good.
It's good. It's so
like
good.
Too good. So I'm really excited about this one. And if anybody's read anything about this, just let me know. This might be a rabbit hole for me.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. This would be a rabbit hole for you. This is like tailor made.
Yes, exactly. So when I saw this one, and I believe it's new this year, and I didn't write down the exact date.
I feel like I can envision the cover.
But yes,
which we will have here.
Yeah, but I feel like it was on the 2025 list. So I'm hoping that this will be a good one. I love the fact that we pick books that are sometimes in the same worlds of genres, ideas. So spies, CIA. I don't know. Did we stay in that world for your next book? Your last book of this pick?
This is my last Nonfiction November. And it has nothing to do with spies. So it is completely off the wall.
Okay.
And this is a much lighter read. And I'm actually reading it now, and I'm probably like 75% through. Okay. And it is great. And it doesn't come out till February. So I got a sneak peek on this one. So if it interests you, you're going to have to mark your TBR calendars. It's called Tony Stark, Odysseus, and the Myths Behind Marvel, Ancient Heroes in the Modern World by Peter Meineck. And
such a good title.
It is, when I saw that, I was like, yes, like on our little bookseller portal, request. I want to request a copy of that. Yeah. It is so right up my alley. Peter Meineck is a professor of like classical Greek mythology, classicism. Like he is an expert in that. And so what he does throughout this book is he takes a character from the Marvel universe, the MCU, and he compares them to an ancient Greek, sometimes like ancient Roman, sometimes in either other ancient cultures figure, and draws these parallels that really just show us that there's nothing new under the sun. Yeah. And that people of all ages and all times throughout all periods in history love stories like this, not like superheroes, you know. I think they get a bad rap. And I love Marvel. Yeah. And my husband and I are the kind of people who will be like looking for like Easter eggs, you know, throughout, you know, the movies, the TV shows. And so to give a quick example or a quick look into what this is like, the first chapter is Captain America. It goes through Captain America's history a little bit, which came about during World War II. And so it was kind of like an anti-Nazi propaganda, honestly. And if you watch the movies now, like you see like the Red Skull is the villain, and there are some Nazi kind of ties in there with Hydra is what they call it, and things like that. So they draw a parallel between Captain America and Odysseus. And there are just all these different things that I'm like, wow. And, you know, this heroic character of Odysseus, who is kind of like very upright, and he definitely details the myth a lot better than I can do here. He does Iron Man or Tony Stark, who is this like billionaire playboy who has a weapons firm, and he ends up using it for good and becomes Iron Man to help. And so he compares that with, I really hope I say this right because there are so many vowels, Hephaestus, who is the god of like ironworks. Yeah. And he draws parallels there. And then he does, I'm just pulling out a couple random people, one of my favorite Avengers, and I could talk about this for a long time, is Wanda, or the Scarlet Witch. Oh, yeah. And so she is a mother of two boys, and if I'm explaining it and you're like not into this, you're gonna be like, that sounds so dumb. She's married to Vision. Who is like a cyborg who is born from Tony Stark's. It's too confusing. So, anyways, Wanda, Scarlet Witch, they compare to Medea from Greek mythology, and it was really, really good. Just about these two women in kind of patriarchal societies who are faced with a really tough decision of like, what do they do with their children?
Yeah.
And I could talk about this forever. I'm so enjoying it so much. And so if you come in and you want to talk about this, I will step aside from the counter and I will talk to you about Marvel and mythology for a long time. Last one I'll say is Black Panther is set in the world of Wakanda, which is this kind of
them all too.
hidden nation in Africa with all of these resources, which we know throughout the MCU as vibranium. And the parallel there is Atlantis.
Oh, that's a cool one. That makes perfect sense.
It's so well done, and I just feel like I read it with like a goofy smile on my face because I'm like, I never would have thought this, but I can totally see. And he says, not that the people in the MCU were like, okay, how can I rework this myth? But it just illustrates the fact that people like throughout time, we just see these themes, these same themes of heroes and villains and moral dilemmas and, morally gray issues. And so it's really good. Highly recommend. It's got a super long title again. You can see it down here. Tony Stark, Odysseus, and the myths behind Marvel, ancient heroes in the modern world. Highly recommend.
I'm really excited about that one. As you guys have probably picked up, I homeschooled. My son graduated this past year, and his senior year, we did Homer, we did Odysseus, we did Iliad, and we delved deep into the world of mythology. And we are huge MCU. I mean, huge. I wish that I had had this book when we were studying because
true.
We did a deep dive into how they worked with the Greek and Roman gods, how they pulled from Christianity, or how they mirrored things like the good, the evil, the creations. I love this. This is going to be exciting.
Yeah.
I have a feeling I know some boys that might enjoy this book.
Oh, yeah,
because
for sure.
of the MCU. I mean, that's really cool.
And I wish it was coming out in December because it's so gifty for like the men in your life who like this, men or people like me who like this.
Yeah. As you were talking, I was thinking of WandaVision. Like I was thinking of all the shows and the movies. And
that's like I think that is one of the best executed pieces.
Yeah, that one was a good one.
Of television in cinematic history. It's so good.
I'm excited about this one. So fun.
So that's my last option, my last choice for Nonfiction November, which ironically I'm the farthest through. But I wanted to end on a high note. I didn't want to end on the eugenics one or the Dust Bowl.
Right.
So we're ending on Tony Stark.
Yeah. Thankfully, mine's going to be a little happy too.
Good.
So I love these nonfiction titles that are like a book themselves.
I know.
So Jane Austen's Bookshelf, a rare book collector's quest to find the women writers who shaped a legend by Rebecca Romney. So again, a very long title, but I'm a Jane Austen fan, which we learned was
Janeite.
Janeites. I am one. I will admit it. This is really cool because Rebecca Romney has been featured on Pawn Stars.
Oh, okay.
So if you've ever watched Pawn Stars, she is a book collector, a rare book collector. So she's got a specialty in books in general, which is just really cool to be one of them.
Yeah.
She goes back and looks to see.
You should consider yourself an expert in books, Gina.
Well,
even though you haven't been on Pawn Stars, you're a book expert. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The books I like anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll go with that. Which she admits, I love this. Actually, she in an interview says, because people always like, you know everything about books. She's like, I don't know everything about rare books. I know where to find that knowledge. I loved that quote because as a homeschool mom, we would teach the kids, we don't know everything. We are your lead learners. Like we are teaching you how to learn. So we want to foster that lifelong love of learning. So I love that she says, I know where to find knowledge. Guess what, folks? Books. That's where you learn to find knowledge. So yeah, I'm a book expert. Yeah. Yes. So she's investigating the writers that influenced Jane Austen, which I think is really cool. So she's taking a look back at some of the writers that we may not know anymore because they got overshadowed by Jane Austen's works and became this huge culty world of Janeites. And we don't recognize that there are some beautiful authors that came before her that she learned from. And she even says that some of the things that Jane wrote about were influenced enough by these other works. Like there is a real play that is mentioned in Mansfield Park that was in it's an actual play that was written by a woman. And it was also Cecilia in Pride and Prejudice. There's a phrase in Cecilia that says Pride and Prejudice, and that she actually might have taken that term from that book. So there's all these connections she makes, but then she also makes a case for why we should go back and find them and read them and appreciate their works as well. So I'm really excited because this opens up a whole new world of classics that we don't always think about. And I did write down some of them. Frances Burney, Anne Radcliffe, Maria Edgeworth were just 3 of the ones that were mentioned in her little synopsis. So Anne Radcliffe was maybe on my radar. Like I'd heard the name, but never read anything. Have you?
No, none of those honestly ring a bell for me.
And I don't know why the Radcliffe one did, if it came up somewhere else, but this just sounded very exciting. She explores the lives of these women and their works. And so, because Jane Austen is a very unique character as a person.
Like, oh, really?
Yeah, she didn't marry. She had lots of siblings. There's, thoughts that maybe she had a romance that didn't work out that maybe might have inspired some of her works.
Oh.
There's some fan fiction that's based on her life that I was really disappointed when I read, and I didn't know it was fan fiction. I thought it was a biography type book, and I was really sad when I got to the end, and I was like, crud, this isn't real.
I wasted my time.
Yeah, so this lady had found out that a trunk had been sold, and there was a ring in it, and they speculated what the ring meant of hers, and so she was like, it was an engagement ring, and so she writes this whole book about it. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. Why maybe reading the back of the book might have been a good idea on that one. So,
yeah,
but
lessons learned.
Yeah. So, and then there's a PBS documentary called Jane's Sister, I think it was, or Miss Austen, and it's about Jane's sister and the letters that they wrote back and forth. And so you get a picture of who Jane is, and I think this will maybe help also, because she's very young when she started writing.
How old was she when she died? I don't know.
She was very young too.
Really?
Because she got, and I can't remember what it was, but they had this odd, very romantic sounding name for it, but it ended up being a very common issue that they could have nowadays, like she would not have died from.
Oh.
If I remember right. It's been a minute since So Jane Austen has been in my radar a lot lately because a couple of other books that I have read that are historical fiction have put her in the midst of them as a historical character. So
yeah,
the St. Cyr books that I'm reading that I love. The last one was Jane and her brother were right in the middle of it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I love Jane Austen, and this will be an interesting read to see who maybe influenced her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I, unsurprisingly, have not read this book, but I have several friends who have read it, and it was like 5 stars.
Well, you
like
recommended it. You were like, I think you would like this. So,
I think you will like it.
My nonfiction friend here over likes to say, I think you would like this one, and she's usually right. So,
fingers crossed.
Yeah. So, a happier note to end on for both of us.
Yeah.
So
definitely so jolly.
Very long. Jane Austen's Bookshelf, and I'm not going to say the rest of it, by Rebecca Romney. Highly recommend if you're a Janeite.
And if you have read any of these books, please let us know. We are looking forward to hearing what you will be reading for Nonfiction November. Our picks that we are hoping to read will be linked down below in a bookshop where if you want to read it with us in Nonfiction November, that would be awesome. Except for my Tony Stark one. That one's not out yet.
Gotta wait.
That's the only one.
Just put a circle on your calendar.
Yeah,
in
that's
February.
right. Draw a little superhero on that date. But you can purchase a copy from the store below. And until then, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for coming and sitting and listening through our discussions. We look forward to filming and talking to you guys throughout the week.
It's always nice to hear from you guys. It really is. Just as a quick reminder, we are reading the Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets, book 2 in the series, and that video will drop. I love saying that. I sound so cool. Will drop.
Such influencers.
Drop the last Friday of November. If you need an exact date, you're going to have to pull it out a calendar. Sorry.
Go to our YouTube
It'll be
page.
After Thanksgiving. It's the Friday after Thanksgiving. So I think it's like the 29th. It's like one of the last days of the month. So, but this has been a fun Nonfiction November TBR. Thank you. Best in Show Books, I'm Gina.
And I'm Shelby.
Have a great day.